Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the third edition of Begg to Differ. If you're watching for the very first time, this is basically a review type program. So what I've done is I've gathered, as you can see, a host of long-time Aberdeen fans to discuss what has happened since the return of play since the World Cup. So let me quickly make the introductions. Over here to my left is John Bleasdale, from an excellent contributor to SFF podcasts, and also wrote a fabulous book called Scotland's Swedish Adventure. Down here, here's James McGaskill, who is a prominent member of the Lewis and Harris Dons Supporters Club. Here is Charlie Ross, who currently lives down in Wales and is a long-time Aberdeen fan. And over here to my right is Lorraine Baxter, who moved to Aberdeen in 1976 to become a nurse and has been a Don supporter ever since. Guys, you are absolutely more than welcome. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Okay, so to get started, what I would like to do is to start talking about our most recent game against Ross County. I felt that there was a little bit more endeavour than what there was against St Mirren, and particularly against Kilmarnock. But the fact that we only had one real meaningful chance in the game, which was Matt Kennedy's shot, continues, for me personally, to be a growing concern. I was also not overly impressed by the post-match comments by the manager, where he talked about the importance of stopping a losing streak. For me personally, what was more important was the fact that we did not beat the team who are currently bottom of the Scottish Premiership. And we hardly troubled their goalkeeper throughout the game. Lorraine, I'd like to come to you. Do you agree or disagree?
I think Jim Goodwin could do with some PR lessons. He doesn't come across warmingly to the fans. He needs to take some responsibility for the errors. He is picking the team. Ramirez in midfield. There was improvement. I agree with you. There was improvement. There was just lackluster. I mean, I've been a supporter for many, many years, and I've seen a lot worse. My concern, a great many fans shouting for his head. I don't know if that's the answer. And where do we get the money from if we do sack him?
That's a really interesting point, which I will come to a little bit later. John, if I can come to you, please. If you can pick up on what Lorraine has answered. I totally agree with Lorraine, and I've mentioned it here on the shows before, that I think that Jim's PR currently is ill-advised. What do you think?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of things that he needs to work on, and obviously it's a massive jump going from a club like St Mirren, no disrespect, St Mirren, good club, to go to a club like Aberdeen. There's a lot more demand, and if you're not producing the results, then you are going to come under pressure. It's just the nature of the beast of the job. My big concern with Jim Goodwin, to be honest, isn't so much his PR, it's the team selections. He's been in the job 11 months. He's oversaw a massive recruitment. And to me, he still doesn't know his best team. Now, I get it was the right time for McInnes to go, etc. But at least with Derek McInnes, you kind of knew what the team was going to be. You knew where players were going to play. And there wasn't many players that played out of position. Andy Constantine is probably one of the few where he played left back instead of centre back. But there's a lot of square pegs, round holes happening here. I mean, how often has Ross McCrory been playing in his position as centre midfield? Very little. And yet the first thing that Goodwin said was Ross McCrory will be playing in midfield. It's hardly happened this season, certainly not in the last few months. And Ramirez in midfield, that just doesn't work. We've got all these wingers in the squad, but yet we're playing a 3-5-2 to accommodate Stuart. I know it changed a wee bit yesterday, but he needs to figure out his best team and his best formation, and quick.
James, can I come to you?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm agreeing with what John said there. McCrory, when you see him driving at the opposition teams, he pushes the team forward. He drives that team forward. and more often than not, he'll end up just outside the opponent's box, taken down. But he gets us into great positions. The point about Considine, that's been a real bugbear for a lot of people. I could have his steadying head in the defence would have been fantastic, especially over the last wee while. But your point about Jim Goodwin saying, stopping the losing streak, I would have accepted that if we'd beaten Ross County, not from the 0-0 draw. So I think there's a wee bit of, again, that comes down to maybe PR and what he should maybe not be saying, maybe what he should be saying. But yeah, our WhatsApp group amongst the members has been very lively of late.
Oh, I can imagine. Charlie, what were your overall thoughts of the Ross County draw?
Well, I didn't actually watch the whole game this time because I was out with family, but usually I do watch the whole
Lucky
game.
You.
I know. I'm the same as James. Something that does bugbear with me for a long time has been the Andy Considine thing. I think that has been a major issue. I never agreed on it. I was so wanting Andy to finish his career with us. I would have dropped Bojan. I would have dropped him on Saturday, and I would have played Christian. I would have played Christian and Duke, and then obviously have Duke there with Christian to set up a bit more, because I think Bojan, something is wrong at the moment with him, but we can't obviously have a right go on because he's done his really good stead since he come to the club, and it is a big change as well for him. My other thing is, me and you have spoken before, Ali, about is the captaincy. The captaincy is not with the right man. It should never have gone to that man, in my opinion. If you were going to make someone the captain of that team at the time, before Ramadani came in, I would have picked McQuarrie, because I just think he's exactly a Lewis Ferguson player, as James said. He attacks and he'll go and he'll get us into good positions. I watch Anthony Stewart every game, and I do not see him. I just don't see any anger from him. Where, if you watch many years ago, when all our great captains, even, going back to the great days of Willie Miller, but even like people, Andrew Shirry, even Andy Considine, Russell, you would see them going nuts if someone was doing something wrong. He just seems to have an armband on his arm. That's all he seems to do. And no disrespect to the boy. I think if he had a bit more support there, and I think this is where people have said maybe we should come and get an older generation player now in, and this, obviously the boy Long is coming in. We lost an older generation gentleman who, if it wasn't for his injury, he was potentially going to, still going with Scotland. Do you know what I mean? He's still getting picked by Scotland, Andy Considine, because he's that consistency, and we need that. And we need that sometimes with younger players. We need someone to be beside them that's consistently. To me, the player so far this season has been Ramadani. I think he's an absolute fantastic player. I think he should be captain. If I was going to choose someone now, it'd be Ramadani. But I really, I'm with James. The Andy Considine thing is really still gut-wrenching me, because Andy deserved to finish his career at Pittodrie, whatever he wanted to do on after that.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm also with you with Hilbert Ramadani. The only thing I would say against that is I don't think it's healthy to change a captain halfway through the season, because I just don't think from a psychological point of view it would be the right thing to do to the boy. But I do think in the summer it does need to be looked at, and personally I would 100% like to see Hilbert Ramadani wearing that armband. Right, guys, I'd like to go back to the first game after the World Cup, which was obviously against Celtic. Now, I believe that the repercussions of that game continue to reverberate. I believe that game was the catalyst for what we have witnessed over the past few weeks. I think the tactics, the manager's comments, and the subsequent backlash has done us more damage than may be appreciated. I believed it knocked the stuffing out of us in terms of confidence, in terms of belief, and more importantly, in terms of the guy's own talent. John, can I come to you first of all? What do you think?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I mean, we were playing the league leaders, so I can understand why you might want to be a little bit more cautious. But you can, as St Mirren proved earlier in the season, you can be organised and still have an attacking threat. I mean, St Mirren played 2 up front that day and won 2-0, and deservedly so. And they were organised defensively at the same time. So you can do it, have that balance against a team like Celtic. But the approach seemed to be, just park the bus and try and get a 0-0, see if we can build confidence from that. But it's almost saying to the players before they step in the park, you're not good enough to win the game, just get a 0-0. And that, that's not going to feed the players with confidence, especially your attacking players. And we kept losing the ball. That's something the manager can't control, is players not keeping the ball and things like that. But yeah, that negative approach, it was. I know people say you were 7 minutes away from getting a 0-0. Well, we were, as somebody else put it, we were always a minute away from losing a goal, because we were just camped in the edge of our box and everything was just getting launched and coming back at us. You can't play like that. You've got to have an out ball, try and hold the ball up and get players up the park and give the defence a respite. It just wasn't happening, and Celtic didn't play that great that day, but they always got players like Callum McGregor who can produce the magic that he did. And yeah, it did set a bad turn of events for the next few weeks.
Lorraine, what did you make of the Celtic game?
I have to be honest, and I didn't see the full match. Heard plenty about it. But I can go back to Eb Scovdale days and getting beat 9-0, 10-0. And it's soul destroying. It's absolutely soul destroying. And I do agree with what it was said. I think the players' mentality has taken a battering. And again, I think it's man management. And the Derek McInnes thing, yeah, we maybe didn't have the best results against Celtic, but you had to have a go, have the urgency, there's always a chance of the break of the ball, but it's just this park the bus, it's just not what we want to watch.
Charlie, let me come to you. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, no.
Okay. Charlie, let me come to you. Personally, I think players thrive on confidence.
Yeah.
And I think if that confidence is taken away from them by a management decision not to allow them to express themselves on the field of play, I think that's a very dangerous game.
Well, the comment he made, I think you just need to look at the comments that he made afterwards, right? When he said, if we played like we did against Rangers at Ibrox, everyone would have been praising us. But because as we all know, we lost that game as well and lost it quite convincingly. But that's the difference. He should have played the way he played against Celtic at Pittodrie against Rangers at Ibrox, because we know that at Ibrox they're going to come out at us. So we need to, not part the bus, but certainly, obviously protect our defence and the midfielders do their job. And then obviously we have got great players who could have attacked, and hopefully you get the odd goal. And that's what happened with Celtic at the end of the day, didn't it? That's exactly what happened. But if he'd gone out and played the way they had been playing before the break, I think a lot more people would respect him than sitting back and just saying, Celtic, just come at us. We're at Pittodrie. We're not at Hampden Park. We're not at Celtic Park. We're not at Ibrox, right? We're at Pittodrie Stadium. The Pittodrie Stadium has always been known as a difficult place, but now people just feel they can get up there and get a win. Even Ross County yesterday, they could have had a break of a ball yesterday and win. Now, this is the problem that Jim has. He just doesn't. I know it's a St Mirren thing, and we all say he's come from St Mirren, but St Mirren, the team that they've got now is basically Jim's team there. It's not far off, and they went away to Celtic and beat Celtic. They've beat Celtic twice. So, yeah, I think it didn't help him disrespecting the players by not allowing them to express themselves and let them go out and give the best against the best, because that's what they are. At the end of the day, these teams are the best in the league, especially Rangers and Celtic. And I've always had a bugbear about every manager that's come in after probably since 92, 93, that we've got to just go in and be the best of the rest. Why should we? That wasn't the case with Alex Ferguson. And people could say about the money, right? And I understand that Rangers get a lot more money, Celtic get a lot more money. But a team is not built on money. A team is built on the foundations of what you bring in. Hey, back in the 80s, we didn't have superstars at first, did we? They became superstars because what they did. But we didn't have superstars. But what we did is we had a team that grew together and won together and lost together. And that's my bugbear, is any manager that comes in now and says we need to be better than all the rest, than Rangers and Celtic. Well, sorry. If you go into any competition, Usain Bolt doesn't go into 100 meters and go, I'm going to be the best of the top three. And he's going to be the best number one he wants to be. He doesn't want to be third or fourth. He wants to be number one. And same with any competitor. And that's what really frustrates me with Aberdeen managers lately, is that they come in and they say, look, we've got to just, instead of coming in and going, look, we know what we need to do, try and split up the old firm. And let's do it again, because we've got the capabilities of doing it. Because we have actually, at the moment, I think, a fantastic team. I don't know what's going on with Jim, the way he sets them up sometimes. I just don't understand it. But when you've got a striker like Mavovsky, Bojan, when I can't say his last name properly, but when he's been fantastic, but the same with Christian. People forget it. Jim's put him to the side, really. And I think that's really bad, because Christian last season, because Jim didn't have a transfer window. And this is why I don't think nothing will happen. I think something will happen maybe after the weekend if something goes drastically wrong. That was my opinion, because I think if they do bring someone in, they need to give them the transfer window. But you've got to remember, Christian played all that time, and he didn't have any support, really. And I think we've kind of put him to the side, and he did really well for a bad Aberdeen team.
James, I'd like to come to you about the Rangers game, because I also think that game does need addressed. I have to be honest, it completely baffled me. I don't understand for the life of me why we started to sit so deep when we were in the ascendancy after going 2-1 up and looking like we could add to that as well. I appreciate that he was forced to make a couple of changes, but then why not just go like for like and continue to play the way that we had been up until he made the changes? Taking off Duke for me was a big mistake. And then basically allowing Rangers to have the freedom of Pittodrie for half an hour, in my humble opinion, was simply criminal. What are your thoughts on what went wrong on that night?
Well, I think, if you look at the difference between that and the Celtic game was pretty big. We played so much better. We were driving up, we were attacking, and scored a couple of great goals. But that part of the game, the substitutions, like you say, that was a frustration, seeing these guys coming off, and the quality that came on was maybe not as good. Maybe there was some fatigue setting in, but I would have pushed on. I would have kept it as it was for as long as possible. It seemed to be that when we were allowing them, once the changes were made and we were defending, we were falling back, you could feel it coming. It was horrible. It was one of the worst feelings. And the mistakes were it was almost like a sense of panic. And it's just because of the intensity of the change in the match. As a supporter watching that, it was very frustrating. Going back to the Celtic game, the players, to be honest, I think they played out Jim Goodwin's plan exactly as he wanted to. And they played it out pretty well, to be fair to them, as much as I'm sure they would have been extremely frustrated by it. And again, I thought they played, if we had held on, if there wasn't so many defensive, the Killaroos mistake and so on, if we got away with that and we'd won that game 2-1, saying that the Celtic game was a catalyst then for the rest, what would have been the case if we had then won that game against Rangers and then gone into the next game with a spring in our step? Could have been completely different. The last few results could have been completely different. But I do agree, the substitutions, that hurt us. And then actually just letting us be pushed back so much. We don't have the defensive quality. One of the key things is we don't have the quality at the back. We need a good transfer window this month. And one of my concerns there, we're talking about the captaincy and Andy Stewart. Now, my thinking was that Anthony Stewart has not been playing well at all. And, a lot of comments about the same. Now, if we recruit well and somebody comes in, are they going to push Anthony Stewart out of the team? Is Jim Goodwin going to be quite kind of like, no, he's my guy. I've taken him in. He's staying there. That concerns me as well, because we need to be sensible about what we're actually doing. And if we recruit quality and Anthony Stewart loses his place, then what do we do with the captaincy? I know I agree that changing the captaincy at this point of the season is not great, but what do? We have to put out the best team. So it comes down to recruitment.
It's worked elsewhere, though, isn't it? If you think about it, I know we're not no Man United, but Man United did the exact same thing with Harry Maguire. He's dropped him. He's not playing good enough. He's dropped him, and that's what we've got to do. Sadly, if you're the captain or the captain, if you're not playing well, you don't deserve to be in that. You need to give someone else a chance to come in and do that job. That's why we've got a vice captain. At the end of the day, and I totally agree with you, James. I think if we recruit well and he gets pushed out, that's the problem, isn't it?
Well, I think, Charlie, like you were saying, though, I mean, Anthony Stewart as a leader, from the back, I don't think it helps the defence from a sense of assurance. The defence is too shaky, and he's too passive. He's the nicest guy, not a problem with that at all. But I want somebody there shouting and bawling. I want people grabbing somebody by the scruff and saying, this is what you're doing. This is what we need to be doing. And I don't see that.
I don't see
I
that.
don't see any encouragement either.
Yeah.
There's no encouragement from the captain at all. And that's another factor. Shinnie, Anderson, McLeish, a young lad coming on, they would always encourage them. I've not seen that once this year. The captain needs to encourage as well as giving them a good bollocking.
Yeah, completely agree. Lorraine, while you're there, now this is not me playing skullduggery here, and I'm not insinuating anything here whatsoever. This is just me putting this out for general discussion. So we heard the boos ring out at full time after the Ross County game. Where do you stand with Jim Goodwin at the moment?
Oh, it's so difficult. I think he's the right man for the job? No. I don't think he manages. I think his tactics are wrong. But I have an issue with constantly changing managers. I personally feel we've never got it right since Derek McInnes left. I thought Derek played good football. He maybe went stale, and I know a lot of the fans think that. Had he got the budget that Goodwin had, we could have been so much better instead of loan deals and whatnot. I know there was maybe a personality clash there, but I honestly don't know. There's lots of things that I'm not happy with. As a club, there's lots of things I'm not happy with at the moment since the new board came into place. I think something has to change. I think something has to change. And yesterday, the guys around about Pittodrie were saying they think Goodwin's lost the dressing room, possibly. It's a catch-22. Do you stick? Do you build? Do you twist and move on?
This is why I think. Sorry. This is why I think this is why, if anything was going to happen, I think Lorraine, it'll happen after this weekend, because I can't see them sacking someone in February and no having a build again. And I don't want that. None of us want any manager to be sacked, right, at the end of the day. But I totally agree with the board thing, because I kind of look at it and go, look, we've got a guy from Atlanta on this board, right? Now, the guy who owns Atlanta is a multi-billionaire. Why aren't we going into their pockets again and saying, look, we think we could absolutely blow the old firm out the way? Because we could, if we have investment from where Dave Cormack keeps on saying that it's going to come in, and it's going to come in from America. Because I got really excited when I was told this, and especially when you've got a guy that owns a multi-billion company, that's the type of owner that we need, sadly. And I think if we have investment from them, okay, we might have to give a chunk of our club away, but it could be the best thing.
John, we've got a difficult January, a very difficult January. We've got St Johnstone on Saturday. Then obviously we've got the League Cup semi-final. Then we've got Hearts away at midweek. Then we've got the Scottish Cup, and then we've got to play Hibs in Edinburgh. So it's a very difficult January. Does Jim get another window?
I think he will get this window, but what I will say is if we lose that game against Darvel, he's out. If we lose to 6-tier opposition, no manager survives that. I mean, with regards to Goodwin, as you know, Ali, I wanted him when Derek McInnes was leaving. I wanted him when Stephen Glass was leaving. This is the first time I'm starting to really doubt him, because I wanted to give him the benefit of, it's a new squad, and he inherited a bit of a mess last year. But I'm really questioning the tactics. He moved to this back three to accommodate Anthony Stewart. Let's be brutally honest about this, because Stewart's failings were there. Has the back three worked? No, because we're still conceding goals. We're playing McCrory in there, who's a centre mid. When Scales was injured, so was ineligible and Stewart was suspended, we're playing Jack McKenzie, who's a left back in that position. Why are we not playing Jack Milne, who is a centre back? What is this saying to Jack Milne? You're a centre back, but a left back and a centre midfielder's better than you, when we'll have two centre backs at the club. This is again the problem with the recruitment. It doesn't just go to Jim Goodwin. This goes to Stephen Glass as well. Stephen Glass was not dealt with a good was not well backed either, and we had a lopsided squad. We've got the same issues this year. I think Goodwin will certainly get these next few games. If we get through the League Cup final, that'll buy him time. But if we lose this game to Darvel, and I'm quite fearful of that game, because it's lower division opposition, they'll be up for it. They'll be having no fear. They've got players who could probably play in League 2, League 1. We should be winning that game, but live in the telly, if we end up losing that, he's out for me.
It's a confidence thing again with the players, the whole Darvel thing, and he needs to build that players up and build that confidence up. They're good players, but they're playing out of position. He's picking the wrong team. He's making the wrong substitutions. And maybe Jim just needs a wee bit of a helping hand along the way. And I'm with you. I wanted Jim Goodwin. But no, something drastic. Something just seems to have definitely gone wrong since
there's players in there that need taken out for their own good. Just and Majowski's one of them. He's just not had any form at all since he's come back. I would play Ramirez up front for a couple of games to see how he gets on playing with Duke. I'd start with the two. I'd have Hayes back in the team and go back to the 4-2-3-1. Either Vinny, who I think has been taken, he deserves to be dropped at the time, but I think he deserves to come back in, or Matt Kennedy, who's been playing well, to be fair. But we need to have McCrory and Ramadani in that midfield and build the team around them.
Okay, guys, I think I want to talk about Vinny, because he's just disappeared off the radar. He was allowed to go back to Holland to spend Christmas with his family. You can make of that what you will. I think, personally, when there's a game on, I'm not sure it's the right call. I have to be honest. I totally get Christmas, living abroad, family. I totally understand that. But when there's a game on, it's part and parcel.
He knew that when he was coming to Aberdeen.
Yeah, it's part and parcel of being a professional football player. In regards to Bojan, I think he's just not getting the service, but I agree with you. I think he could up his work rate a little bit. But James, let me come to you about Vinny. What's going on there? What's your take on it?
I think definitely at times he's lacked consistency. There's some times where he's looked very lively. I wouldn't say unplayable. I don't think we've seen. He came with a very good pedigree. I don't think we've seen it. And there's games where he's dropped off. Some of the occasions where he's very quick to go down, he hasn't helped himself with that. Does that change the way he plays as well? Possibly. But I just think that we haven't got that quality in the final third. So strange, the first quarter to a third of the quarter of the season, home form was good. We were scoring. Yes, okay, there's times when we're playing against 10 men, which has helped. But at the same time, we were driving forward. So, Vinny, is it confidence? Is it the changes in the team around him? It's very hard to put your finger on. But I think he needs to step up a bit, because he's got the quality. When you see the clips from training and the stuff he does, Where's that? And, you know, I think he should be showing that against some of the teams that are so-called lesser teams. Strange.
Yeah, I think I think he's guilty of going missing in games when he really needs to step up. Right, guys, we've only got 5 minutes left, so I'd like to come to all of you just to finish off. Lorraine, let me come to you first. What's your expectations for the remainder of January?
God. I hope that I would like to think he would sit down with the players, build them up a bit, and I would expect us to beat Darvel. I am going to Hampden. I am optimistic, and I've not been drinking. It's a cup game. Anything can happen. So I'm a cup half full person. I'm hoping he can turn it round. I'm hoping he can turn it round. My expectation is I don't think we'll win at Tynecastle because Hearts played really well yesterday. And I just hope that we can turn it around. My expectation is that he will get it right in the end.
John, keep it fairly brief.
Yeah, it's obviously going to be a tough month. We need to beat St Johnstone Saturday first and foremost. St Johnstone's not in good form. It's a home game. Well, there's no excuses as far as I'm concerned, but get the team right and you never know. Lorraine, you could be on to something with regards to the Rangers game. We will be written off, but the last 2 League Cup semi-finals, we've played Rangers in 95 and 2018. We've won them, so you never know. I agree Hearts is going to be difficult because Hearts are starting to get players back. They don't have the European distraction. And even though they've lost Craig Gordon and Andy Clarkson, one able goalkeeper, so I think they'll go in and finish third. I'm expecting us to beat Darvel. Going to that game as well as the Rangers game, so hopefully we can get 2 wins there. And I expect us to beat Hibs. Hibs are in a dreadful place right now. Even though they're away from home, I expect us to go there and win that game. I'm quite positive that we'll go into February in a better place.
Okay. Charlie, for you?
Well, in the league, I expect at least 5-6 points between the games. I think we'll definitely get 6. I would like 7. The Hearts game, I think we could get a draw if we play the right team. League Cup final, I never fear Rangers. I always think we're going to beat them anyway. And I think if we play against, like we did against them at Pittodrie, we can beat them. So I'm with Lorraine on that one. I think we can easily, and it's a one-off game at the end of the day. Darvel, we should be just thumping them 9-10-0. But we wouldn't probably, but it'll probably come down to a 1-0 victory on the kind of 89th minute. But it'd be nice if we gave them a bit of a thumping like what we did to a lot of the teams in the League Cup, when we were in the group stages, which was quite weird for us. But yeah, I just hope Jim, as I think with Lorraine as well, I think if he has lost the dressing room a little bit, sit down with the players, explain what he's trying to do, and just get it through to them, because I don't think none of the players know what he wants to do.
Okay, James, you've got 2 minutes. Give us your thoughts.
I think the St Johnstone game is key. Same as John was saying, that's going to set us up for the month. If it doesn't go well, it could be a sticky month again. But I think if we get a good performance and we get the win against St Johnstone, it's going to take us into the semi. And I think we could do the semi. I think we can do that. Hearts again, same as Liam said. I think that's going to be a tough one. Darvel, I think we'll win. I don't think it'll be a 9-0, Charlie. But I agree. I think we should be beating Hibs, especially what they're doing as well. But we're at times we're quite inconsistent as well. So St Johnstone, let's get St Johnstone done first and then set us up.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I know it's the old cliche, and forgive me for using it, but we can only but take at this moment in time one game at a time and not look ahead, because if we get a decent win and a decent performance against St Johnstone, it will set us up nicely for the semi-final. But let's get St Johnstone out of the way. Guys, thank you so much for coming on and contributing to the show tonight. It's been absolutely brilliant having you all on, and hopefully we'll see each other all very soon. Thank you so much. Good night.
Cheers.
Bye.
Cheers.